Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, where we look at ourselves and our world through the lens of the 21st century. Hi, and welcome back to Modern Musings. I'm your hostess, Cindy Murray, and I'm here today with my co-hosts, Kristen Hessler and Amber Garvin.
Hey.
Hey.
And we are looking at the calendar, and 2 years ago, the United States went into a lockdown because of the global COVID pandemic. And in many ways, our lives are still disrupted by the changes that ensued. And we wanted to come on this week and talk to you guys about what those changes have meant for us and what they might have meant for you. Some of the things that we're dealing with. For instance, there have been more than 404 million cases of COVID worldwide and almost 6 million deaths. Now, we don't want to get into the politics of why it happened, what could have been done to prevent it, what we should be doing to prevent it, any of that stuff. What we're here to talk about is the effects that it has had on our daily lives and how we're coping with that. I'm talking about mental health. Right now, there's a really big problem with people suffering from depression and anxiety because of the isolation of living and working from home and being, just isolated from their peers. And this has kind of hit home in my family recently because a family member of mine was recently diagnosed with depressive disorder. And I believe it is in part due to the pandemic and because this person has been isolated at home and working from home. And I know I have suffered, I've had a lot of anxiety and depression during the COVID pandemic. And I want to ask you ladies if you have had similar issues. Like I said, I know this is a big thing because there's a lot of people who are still, in essence, afraid to leave their homes. And, on one hand, we have people who are like, let's just get back to normal. I'm over this already. And then we have people who are still afraid to leave their homes and people who are dealing with depression and anxiety and this, we're just not coping very well. And has that been the case for you? Do you feel like you've coped with this well, or are you having issues with it?
Well, I feel like in the beginning when lockdown happened, I went through a lot of issues. I mean, now 2 years later, I feel like I'm finally getting back to I want to say like, I deal with that anyway. And the pandemic was just kind of an icing on the cake. But I was also during that time going through marital problems and then eventually divorce. So the pandemic was kind of like a mental hell for me. And being stuck at home with the ex-husband that I was having so many problems with, it was just kind of like a lot of people, are always, oh, I learned this new hobby, being stuck at home and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't. I was literally it felt like I was stuck in jail, pretty much.
I can relate to that.
Like a mental jail, and now, 2 years out, I'm happy to be out of that jail. And, I was very nervous at first, leaving the house and going and doing regular life, which I don't feel like my life has been regular since then at all.
Right.
But
right.
I mean, I don't know, maybe it's getting there, but I know it'll never be the same. But I mean, I feel better about everything now compared to how I felt 2 years ago, if that makes sense.
That does. What about you, Krista?
I was already very introverted, and so whenever I was like, I'm being forced to stay at home, this is so cool. I was kind of excited about working from home and not necessarily being like feeling obligated to have social contact with people that I didn't necessarily like want to do. Like, oh yay, all the quote unquote fun events that I was required to go to, social events and stuff, I didn't have to anymore. So I was kind of like excited about that for like the first few weeks. I was like, oh, this is cool. I can just like throw the day planner out the window. Don't need that anymore, and, but even with being an introvert, you still need to get out. And
you need some kind of interaction.
Yeah, when it just wasn't necessarily about interaction. It was just about those places that I liked to go to that even by myself I couldn't go to. Like, the library was closed for like months and months. I still haven't stepped a foot in a library since then. And we were going to the library like every 2 weeks. I would take Raina on the weekend and we would just go pick out some kid books, and I would look at some other books, like fiction or maybe a cookbook or something. And we would go get our books from the library, and then we'd go to the dog park and take the dogs to the dog park. Those are things that I was doing by myself. I wasn't there to socialize with people. I was there just to please myself. And I feel like those things were robbed from me. So my isolation got even deeper, because like you, I felt like I was in a prison at home, and my job, changed hours. So even when I was awake, everyone else was asleep. So I was very lonely. I actually got some like hateful comments from people on Facebook one day because I posted that I was kind of lonely, and someone was like, well, you have friends, and it's like, well, you guys were sleeping when I posted this at like 4 a.m, and I was crying, and everyone else was, in bed. I was alone and feeling lonely. My husband was able to go to work in public because he works at a grocery store, and I was jealous of his job because he got to see people and have coworkers.
Right.
And I hadn't even talked to my manager in like 2 weeks. But we were all working from home, but, they're all working in the daytime, and it was really lonely.
I can see, I'm looking at your face right now, and I see you're on the verge of tears. And I felt, like both of you, I felt similar problems. I'm actually, I work from home normally, and I'm a kind of a part-time stay-at-home, person. So when the pandemic started, I had moved my mother in, and she has dementia, but at the time we didn't realize how severe her dementia was. We had just brought her from the hometown where I grew up to live with us in the Dallas area, and the intention was to move her into a senior apartment, an assisted living or something, somewhere nearby. And so she could live near me where I could take care of her. But then the pandemic happened, and I could not move her out of my house. And so, and then as the time wore on, I realized she had dementia, and she needed more care and more specific activity than I was able to provide. And I couldn't even work with her in the house because, she required my attention, and she took up space, and she was, she had the TV on really loud, so it was hard to talk on the phone. And I'm a travel agent, and my work went away.
What little work you had.
What little work I had completely went away. In fact, the only thing I did for starting in about February of 2020 2020 was to reverse clients, cancel their reservations and refund their money. That's what I spent the greater part of 2020 doing.
Yeah, I was canceling people's dentist appointments.
Yeah. And
people that were like,
I was just watching my paycheck go back out the window.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. It was terrible. And my husband got stuck at home too, but he was, because of the industry he's working in, he was able to work from home. And so he was in one room of the house, and I was both stuck at home with a bunch of people and unable to do the things I needed to do. And also at the same time, I was the one who had to go out and take care of business. So my mother, because she was new to the area, she needed lots of new doctor's appointments. And my niece lived with me at the time, and she had doctor's appointments, and she had errands she had to run. She's a college student, so she needed to go do some things, And so I felt like while everybody else was at home watching YouTube videos and
learning how to
crochet and doing all these things, I was just working my tail off trying to keep my household sane.
Yeah.
And I was just going from one place to the other. I never got to isolate at home because every other day I was having to take someone somewhere.
Neither did I. I didn't isolate.
Yeah, Travis
either.
couldn't isolate.
Yeah.
His job was more demanding.
But at the same time, I wasn't getting that social interaction either because I wasn't meeting with my friends and doing the things that I do with my friends on weekends. And my depression got pretty bad too. It was, I can't count the number of nights I cried just because I just was ready to throw my hands up in the air. I didn't know how I was going to tolerate more.
And I feel like there's a void of some other experience that's a major experience. There's definitely a lack of that here in the room. A lot of those people that were at home watching Netflix and learning how to crochet and stuff were doing that because they lost their job.
Yeah, they were.
That is true.
I can't tell you how many people at my company that got furloughed and then, whenever things get better, and I'm like, okay, I guess those people aren't coming back.
Right.
And
my
so the workload for all of us just doubled because my company was able to, chop the head count.
Reassign the work, yeah.
Yeah, because they realized we could all do it,
Yeah. And
with less people. So we've been busting our butts, feeling like double time, working double time.
I feel like the workload definitely doubled at my job as well because, if you're at home or if you don't have any kids in your quote-unquote class, you can do several things at once and you can have more work to do.
Yeah, my workload did not ever increase except for doing all those refunds. My workload has continued to be suppressed because, a lot of my clients still are not ready to travel yet. And so I know a lot of people have had a boom of travel sales. A lot of people at my company have picked up kind of where they left off, and it's doing a lot better. But I, for one, have not, because a lot of the clients that I work with, I did a lot of group cruises, specialty groups and things like that, and those have not really come back. So
yeah, no one's having destination weddings.
Yeah, we're just not doing that kind of stuff right now. And so that work for me has not come back. But on the other hand, the little bit of work that I do has been slowed down greatly because the workload at the suppliers that I work with has increased. So my different travel companies that I work with, like say FunJet or American Airlines or whatever, they have fewer employees doing the work. And so they are super, super busy. So the hold times are longer. It takes them longer to get things done and things like
I
that.
feel like
That's really hard.
There's a lot of places where I feel like the supply and demand is just completely off. Like we were talking about that eating at a restaurant the other night. A lot of the restaurants don't have certain ingredients because we can't get them.
The supply chain issues.
The supply
that
chain
yes.
issues. And then also, during the lockdown initially, the restaurants that did decide to stay open, a lot of them changed their menu.
Oh yeah,
a
lot of them.
A lot of them had to condense it for like DoorDash and stuff because you can only have so many menu items on those.
Right.
So
they had to shorten
pick
their menus. Yeah.
A lot of places ended up cutting down. Like they have a print menu instead of like a book.
Yes.
Like some of those places that have like 20 pages.
Yeah,
now it's just one page.
Yeah, BJ's was one of those. It used to have a lot of pages in their menu. BJ's Brew House, and now it's like one page front and back or something like that. It's like, what?
No, a lot of places like that. It's just like very short options.
Oddly enough, Cheesecake Factory still has that huge menu.
Well, that's that. I haven't been to the Cheesecake Factory in a long time.
I want to support the places that have brought back their old menu.
I know. I'd
love
do too.
to know
any of the places that are that have gone back to full service pre-COVID. I'd like to know any of those because and there are some of the mom and pop places just stayed the same.
Yeah.
There's a little local chain that we have here in the Dallas area called Fred's Downtown Philly. Mm-hmm. And Fred is from Philly, and so he's got this little chain of Philly cheesesteak restaurants, and that's my endorsement of them, and it's not paid. That's one of my favorite.
Go to Fred's, Dallas people.
Yeah, so it's really good. But his menu is pretty much the same as it always has been, and I don't think he had any. I mean, he was shut down for a while when Texas was closed. But as soon as they opened back up, they've been doing steady curbside or, takeout service.
Yeah.
They are back to in town or in restaurant dining now. A lot of places still aren't allowing people to come in and eat in the restaurant.
Chick-fil-A doesn't.
Oh yeah, I did not realize that, but that would explain the long lines at the drive-thru.
Yes,
the longer lines at the drive-thru.
The wrapped around the building.
Oh
lines.
My gosh, it's terrible. And Wingstop, and I think that must be a difference since they are franchises. There's different owners, but I stopped at one to get some of their ranch dressing. I love their ranch dressing. But they still do not allow in restaurant dining.
There's a couple of Starbucks where you can't sit inside, but then there's one over by your house where every table's full and it's like no social distancing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so
it really depends, yeah.
Yeah, it does. But you're talking about the lines wrapped around the building. It's not just in drive-thrus either though. That seems to be
almost every restaurant now is a convenience store in a way. Your food is faster.
Well, that
to go.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about the number of people that are just out and about and doing, like every time I go to a store, the lines to check out are longer.
Oh, yeah, because they only have two cashiers.
They have a shortage of people.
Employees. So, like, back to that's that supply and demand. You were talking about all these companies that have, like...
They laid off all their employees.
Half the call center isn't working there anymore.
And then they
same thing as the cashiers.
Yeah.
They don't have full set of employees.
They all have signs on the door. And, in fact, somebody was telling me, I can't remember who it was, they went somewhere and the sign on the door said... Now hiring people who actually show up for work.
That was me. That was a fast food restaurant by my house. Okay. We saw that last weekend.
And it's like, okay, yeah, I remember somebody saying that.
And I was like, someone is salty.
But that's the thing is that these people go out and they apply for jobs because, their unemployment's running out or whatever. And then they never show up for work.
Yeah.
Or, they don't want to work for Well, and I know what part of that is. People are tired of working for minimum wage because they work them horrible long hours.
Well, now it's a high risk work environment.
It is a high risk work environment because you're at risk of
Your
catching
life is
COVID
everywhere,
or whatever.
unless you work from home, is high risk.
And the other thing is that they're giving people they give people these weird work schedules. So it's like you don't work, 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, or even 4 in the afternoon until midnight. Monday through Friday, or Wednesday through Sunday, or whatever.
Right.
They give them, well, you're going to work 4 hours on Monday in the morning,
12 hours on Tuesday.
yeah, and then you're off for 3 days, and then you get to work 4 hours on Sunday.
Well, I can see why nobody wants to show up.
People don't want to work those hours.
Yeah,
They
people
work
don't want to get off at
working
midnight
those weird hours
and then go back to work at 6 o'clock in the morning
right.
either.
And I don't understand these people that are scheduling that way. Why are you not scheduling?
Because there's no one to work that shift.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
guess.
it's
I don't
like,
know. But you've mentioned before too, Kristen, that people are like, we don't want to work that shift. We don't want to work that shift, and you guys have to switch off on Saturdays to cover the shifts on Saturdays.
You have to rotate.
Why not just hire somebody who works on Saturday? That's the job requirement. You are getting hired to fill this Saturday position. Period.
We're getting way off topic.
But I mean, but so then we have, but I think that's part of the problem. These people don't want to go back to work at lower rates of pay in a risky,
Right.
position and in less than ideal conditions. And they're not getting paid. They're really not.
That's why I wonder if the restaurant industry is going to be forever changed. And this was just a pivot to a more dine-at-home experience where you get the food already made and take it home kind of thing, or it's delivered. Because, I mean, DoorDash and all of those Grubhub type businesses, they were cool, but they seemed like a luxury before. Now who hasn't tried DoorDash or Grubhub yet?
Right.
Like hardly any people.
Right.
Everyone's tried them now.
But at the same time, I think it's very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't just charge you, they charge you a fee to use their service.
Yeah.
They charge the restaurant a fee for the service.
Well, they've opened
And then there's also tips, and the restaurant charges a fee for the service.
Yeah, I only use that if there's a coupon. Like occasionally Uber Eats will offer a 50% off coupon. Yeah. If you spend more than $20, you can get 50% off, like up to
So the
$20.
caveat, though, the upside to that is that, so we have these forerunning companies who started this new trend because they were smart enough to create the technology before the pandemic. The pandemic caused reason for them to, or other
surge in sales.
Yes. Well, and for people to go, oh, we have a vacuum. We need to create a product like this. So now we have tried it, tested it, it works. People like it. There's going to be more demand for it. There's opportunity for other companies to step in and make it better. So there's opportunity for those people who want to be entrepreneurs to take advantage and make a better quality product.
I don't see that happening though. I look at it as these Uber Eats and DoorDash or whatever, they've already got the corner on the market.
Well, see, that's
and they can charge whatever they want
to pay it.
Someone else can make another app and charge the restaurants less and make a better profit, and then that gives people a better choice.
Somebody just hasn't come in to do it yet, so you owe us like part of your profits if you do this. By the way, and listen to this
because it was my idea.
You owe Kristen part of your profits.
So, but that's also something that I've noticed is that a lot of people had to kind of be clever during the pandemic. Those who were staying at home or didn't have jobs might have found ways to make some money.
Right.
There's a lot of home entrepreneurship that started during the pandemic.
Well, and not just that, but the restaurants that did survive and the other stores, the other retails, they found ways to survive.
Kits,
they weren't on DoorDash.
Take-home kits.
Right,
restaurants did like Whiskey Cake is a good one that came to mind in this area. They came out with pandemic kits where they would have people line up in their parking lot, and they would they would sell these kits for people to take home and make food with.
Yeah, and like, curbside service that these restaurants had never offered before. And then there were other restaurants that had carry out service, but they closed during the pandemic instead of maintaining that carry out service.
Yeah.
And they're still closed. They're gone.
They lost out on that opportunity. You have to be able to adapt. It really is adaptability, and that's really what boils down to, like, who makes and breaks with the pandemic and all of the changes. These little changes is, can you swing with it?
Yeah.
Or does not being able to see your friends, does it break you to the point where you can't recover?
That was one of the things that I did. In addition to my travel agency, I have another small business that's also part-time. I organize crafting events and social events. And when we were not able to meet in person for our weekly and sometimes monthly social events, I took it to Zoom. And so...
Yeah, you have to keep your customer base.
Right. And so to keep myself relevant, we started having Zoom craft parties. And we're still having weekly Zoom craft parties, and sometimes all weekend long, and we just get together and everybody sits at their own craft table and does their own thing, and we're chatting just like if we were in the same room together, but we're at home. And that has allowed us to keep that going. And if it had not been for that, I would not have survived the pandemic, because my customers are very often my friends. And I know these people very well, and I spend a lot of time with them, and they help me get through this. And even when things were really tough with my mom, we eventually sold her house and moved her into a memory care facility. And that was very challenging. And these people that I met with, for all day, every Thursday, became my life support system, really. And if it hadn't been for that, I don't know what I would have done. And I'm sure other people have similar things. My husband had Zoom meetings with his coworkers. His band got together and had cocktail hour, together, because they couldn't get together and rehearse.
My coworkers and I did the same thing. We would get on Zoom and we would just talk for hours as if we were at work. Yeah. And it was pretty good. I mean, I know, like, it was definitely hard for me. I had to come up with different things to do to keep the lights on and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So, and my husband at the time was out of work and really couldn't find work during the pandemic. So I started an online business where I was flipping clothes through eBay. And it was basically my old clothes and my mom's old clothes that I had lost a bunch of weight, and I was getting rid of my old clothes. And that's what I did to keep the lights on, other than working from home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my husband did a lot of odd. He got cut down to part-time during the pandemic, and he's still part-time, but he just found a lot of little other things to do to make money here and there, and that's how we were able to survive. So
it's good, like your little business there, Amber. I think the pandemic put people online a lot more than they normally were. I mean, Facebook was overloaded,
right,
with people on it all day long. They can't go to
stores to go shop.
So people on Facebook Marketplace. Travis and I were doing our Dave Ramsey baby steps, and we were on baby step number 1, trying to save our $1,000 so we could move on to the step number 2 to pay off our debt. And Dave Ramsey recommended, a number of different things to get to your $1,000 in savings. And one of those things was, to sell stuff online.
Yeah.
And so we took that time and sold a lot of stuff on Facebook Marketplace. And I think, you know,
Yeah.
we probably wouldn't have made near as much money had it not been during the pandemic, because there was just more people online.
Right.
Just
Yeah, people
scrolling on their phones. I mean, people are all
Yeah.
depressed and scrolling on their phones, and they want to
and
buy
buying
stuff,
Right.
retail
buying
therapy.
clothes and
Yeah.
stuff like that on eBay.
And it made it nice and easy too, though. I mean, there are some like pros to COVID. You have to look at the silver lining and think about the things that were positive changes. I mean, you can get just about any kind of food delivered to your house that you want.
Yeah,
because
that's
of
true,
it.
because
There's
you
just
couldn't do
about
that before.
anything delivered, even convenience store
You
stuff
know,
now.
with selling online, I don't have to go meet anyone anywhere. I just put it on my porch, and I could say, you know, just porch pickup, and nobody bats an eye about porch pickup anymore. You
Right.
can ding dong ditch something on your friend's porch without having
Feeling bad about it.
talk about the small talk and weather. You know,
Yeah,
if you want,
yeah.
you can just leave it on her porch and then send her a text message. Hey, you know,
Well, it
I didn't feel like putting on pants today, so I just dropped your goodies at the door, you know.
Well, it did eliminate all of those social obligations that you were talking about, that not necessarily social things that we're looking forward to, but you know, the next door neighbor's granddaughter's birthday that you have to go to because she's your next door neighbor's granddaughter, and,
Right.
you know,
those
and-
just things. Yeah.
you know, I don't want to go to that. Well, now, you know, you have an excuse. There were some good things about it. And there were some even good things about having my mother at home with me during COVID like that, because it gave me the opportunity to really observe her on a daily basis. And that was how we realized that her dementia was far, far, far worse than we thought it was. And so that was a good thing about that too. But at the same time, it was very stressful. And we had a lot of people in a house, and, you know, not being able to talk to outside people or whatever, you know, that was, you know, seeing my husband's face every day. I love him dearly, but just seeing him all the time, every day, and watching him go back and forth through the kitchen, you know, and just like, would you quit, you know?
You know, my poor husband, you know, I say that now. I leave the house for like weekend things, you know, where I'm at a hotel or something for the weekend. So he gets alone time at the house. But I think that first year, he was probably like, God, every time I come home, my wife is there, you know, right there in the living room working, because I had my, you know, my desk, was in the living room. We had this tiny apartment. And so I had to just plop right down in the living room to work. And so I was always there. And I bet he was just probably like, you know, I could go a day without seeing her. It'd be nice.
No, I bet he wasn't like that. I bet it wasn't like that. Like, if y'all's marriages can survive that, then that's one big thing to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, I look back and I think, wow, I got married during COVID. You know,
Yeah. But, you know,
that's my luck. That's my luck of the Irish there.
there it is. And if you don't know what we're referring to, go back through our playlist.
Yeah, a couple episodes
Yeah.
ago, or a few episodes ago, we
last month.
talked about bad luck.
Yeah. So, but another thing I wanted to talk about with COVID was just because there's so many people working from home and not in the office all day. Have you noticed the uptick in, and it's not just because of COVID. We actually had a huge influx of people to the Dallas area, moving to the Dallas area, because they built this new Toyota.
There's a lot of large businesses
Large
that came
business
businesses.
headquarters and stuff that moved out here. So we've had a huge influx of people, but so that. And then the fact of COVID and people that are working from home, so they're able to go out and run errands during the middle of the day now or whatever, instead of being stuck at the office. And there's just so much more traffic all day long, every day. And then again, the lines and going in the grocery store, and there's 2 checkers, and at 6 p.m. at night, and, you know, they don't have enough checkers to check everybody out, and there's 20 people in line.
Oh, yeah. If I go to the grocery store after work, I know I'm not going to get home before 8 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. It's terrible.
Grocery pickup.
And groceries
I like to see it
are
and hold it.
the whole supply chain issue has been a huge problem. In the early days of COVID, it was, shortages on toilet paper and water and, because of people panicking and hoarding and,
grocery pickup was cool, but you were lucky if you could actually pick up a grocery pickup order.
Right.
I was
during
about to
those
say,
first 5 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I tried to do grocery
We
pickup
actually
several
stopped
times. I tried to do
for a while.
I tried to do both Amazon groceries and just grocery pickup through my grocers. And, there was so many things that were either
Not
out of
available.
stock that I couldn't make the minimum, or they didn't have any more pickup times because they only allow a certain number of
And
them.
everyone was using them.
And everybody was using it.
There's
yeah.
actually a shortage of pickup workers because there's so many people doing grocery pickup. So
Right.
you see all the people driving and shopping at the store. There's also a ton of people picking up.
Just picking up. Yeah. Every time I go to the grocery store, there's at least one or two cars in the designated parking spots picking up groceries. And, but yeah.
Well, see, I want to say, like, during the early days of the pandemic, it was kind of funny because, like, the grocery store was the only place open or the gas station was the only place open that you could be. So when I would go to the grocery store when I needed to pick something up, it would be so crowded because people were just hanging out
Travis
at
said
the grocery store.
people would go
Just
to
chilling.
hang out. He would see the same customers.
Yeah,
Just
right.
wandering
Just to
around
get
the
out
store.
of the house and wander around
and he
the
was
store.
like, what are you guys doing? This is supposed to be, emergency shopping only,
Right.
Yeah, and
mind blown. And then, Walmart stopped doing 24 hour. There's nowhere you can buy groceries 24 hours. And
Yeah,
most
that's true.
restaurants that were like convenience, fast food don't do 24 hour anymore. When I was working
Only
at
Whataburger.
nighttime, I would get off work, 4 o'clock in the morning and think, man, I wish I had some celery for some tuna salad. And well, I can't buy any at the grocery store because Walmart decided they want all their shoppers to shop in the daytime at the same time.
Right. So if your time to shop is only at night, that
ruined it for me because I always, even way before the pandemic, I would go to Walmart. If I needed something, I would just go. If it was 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, 7, I'd do it.
Right.
Winco is 24 hours now.
Yeah, Winco.
They're back.
24
They're back.
hours.
Okay.
FYI, if you want celery at 4 in the morning
I think
now,
they're
you
the
can go
only
to
ones.
Winco. Yeah,
And-
they are
and
the only ones.
even
Kroger's
the,
not 24
hours. A lot of
hour
fast
anymore.
food that used to be open 24 hours,
McDonald's
they're
isn't.
closed, or they'll close the dining room
Some
and only
areas.
the drive-through. I went to a Burger King about 2 months ago, and only the drive-through was open at 6 o'clock at night. I mean, we're talking dinner hour.
Lack of employees.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They want you to dine at home because that's one less employee that they have to have clean the dining room.
They only have to.
They're
They
just
only have to
making
staff
the
the
food,
kitchen,
cleaning
and
the kitchen,
shove it
and
out the window.
selling it to you. That's it.
That's it. That's what they're doing. And going back to the grocery, we were talking about the lack of things that you could buy, the shortages and stuff. There's still shortages. And that's where I was going with that.
People are still hoarding. Like, I read an article about how people 2 years out, people are still hoarding. It might not be toilet paper, but people buy more groceries than they need now.
Well, and there's certain things that they're just, I guess the cycles are not, we learned a little bit about how manufacturing works through COVID, like with the toilet paper shortage. Part of what had happened was that the companies that manufacture toilet paper, they gear the factory to make home use toilet paper, and they manufacture a whole bunch of it, and then it ships to the warehouse, and then they retool the equipment to make
The different
industrial toilet paper. So the stuff that goes in the bathroom stalls at work, the big rolls and different plies
The
and
thin
whatever.
stuff.
And so they had already retooled to do those big industrial rolls, and guess what? they had started making those, and the demand for home toilet paper went up because everyone was at home, which of course made the industrial toilet paper use go down because nobody's in the office.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, it got everything backwards. And so there's still things that are trying to catch up from that trend. Like some of the
Cleaning
things.
supplies.
Cleaning
Took,
supplies
like,
is one of
Yeah.
7, 8, 9 months.
Right.
Sometimes I'll still go in there and there's nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you'll come back like 2 months later and they finally have some, and they'll have a bunch for a while, but something else that's manufactured by that same company is not available. And that's the way everything is. And so every time you walk into the grocery store, half of the aisles are like decimated. There's nothing on them. And then, of course, we had a recent freeze here in the Dallas area, and that just compounded everything because, again,
everybody's hoarding.
Everybody started hoarding again, and it just kind of went crazy. But so we're still dealing with the repercussions of that. A lot of these things are just they're frustrations and minor inconveniences, but I think the greater takeaway is that we need to be a little more patient with people because, people they get frustrated at the grocery store because they're out of things and they're, it's
not the
crowded
grocery store's clerk's fault that there's no toilet paper.
Right. And, but we're all dealing with this horrible stress and anxiety and things. And, taking it out on the grocery store clerk or taking it out on the person in line in front of you or whatever is not helpful. And we need to keep in mind that everybody is having these challenges, these emotional challenges
For various different reasons.
for a lot of different reasons, but all kind of for the same reasons. And I think it's good to point out, some of the things that are important to do to take care of each other or to take care of ourselves. Get enough sleep. Make sure you're not binge watching TV just because you're stressed or whatever. Make sure you are getting enough sleep and still get outside and get some healthy activity, even though if you're still working from home and stuff, because when you're working in an office, you're getting a little more exercise because you have to park your car and walk into work.
Yeah.
You got to walk into the office. You got to walk.
My daily steps went down about 5,000 steps.
Right.
Half.
Right. So
needed
get
steps,
out
yeah.
during your lunch break or whatever and go get some walking.
If you think
or
about
whatever.
even if you walk out to your car and then drive in your car and then park in a parking lot at work and walk inside, you're getting some sun and you need vitamin D. A lot of us are vitamin D deficient, and vitamin D is something that gives you, it's a mood enhancer. Yeah, it helps you feel happy.
Well, and it also helps you absorb calcium and other nutrients, so it's very important. And eating healthy is good. When you're at home, I know some people still, even at work, have that tendency to go to the vending machine and get the crap out of the vending machine. But a lot of workplaces have removed the crap out of the vending machine, so but at home, you still have that bag of potato chips.
A lot of people's vending machine now is just the cupboard, so there's not the repercussion of, oh man, that costs $1.25.
Exactly. So it's
easier.
Just
nom eat.
It's easier to go eat more and just nom while you're sitting there. So eat better. Some of the other things like alcohol and tobacco use, those are not helpful. Those stimulants they increase anxiety, and they're not good go-tos for that.
Caffeine also.
Oh, caffeine too. Yeah, absolutely. Caffeine is very much so. And limit your screen time. When you get off, go do something besides just watching YouTube or scrolling Instagram or whatever. Go do something physical. Go read a book or go play with the kids or the dog in the yard, things like that. Because then you're going to get social. You're going to get that sun. You're going to get the physical activity, and do more relaxing and recharging and things like that, because that's really important. And most importantly, if you are having any kinds of symptoms of anxiety or depression, or you have any concerns, talk to somebody. Do not keep it to yourself. You are not alone in this. Lots and lots of people are going through this right now. As I mentioned, I have another family member that is currently going through this, and this person was kind of a introvert and not really very social to start with, but when they got forced into a situation where they had no social interactions at all because they were working from home, it kind of spiraled pretty badly. And, you know, this person is just now getting that under control. So, you know, I really, really, really want to emphasize that you are not alone. Talk to your friends, talk to your doctor, and journal your feelings. Don't just keep it all bottled out. There's lots of people that you can turn to for help, and that is important. And it's important to know that you're not the only person going through this right now. A lot of us are. I am. My husband is. My daughter is. My son is. We're all dealing with this right now, and I'm sure Amber is too. So, you know, just know that you're not alone. Do y'all have anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, one of the things that we had talked about the other day, someone had mentioned, I don't remember who, but we were talking about World War II and how, like, just everyone just up and changed what they did.
Because of the rationing.
The women went and worked at the...
Everybody came together to assist the war effort. Yes.
Yeah. Think about it that way. We're not in a war, but we are fighting something. Something is oppressing us, and we have to fight for our own survival, mentally, and emotionally, whatever.
Not every man, woman, and child for themselves. It is a group effort. We are fighting for our society, for humankind, and for our society. You know, to maintain the life that we knew, you know, in essence. So,
we always talk about when can things get back to normal. There's no normal. That was something that we thought when we thought we were just going to be locked up for 2 weeks and then we would go back to normal. That's gone. We're living in the now.
In the now. Thank you, Tolly.
And we've got to embrace the opportunities that have been presented to us,
because we have opportunities to fix things.
Yeah.
You know, this is actually an excellent case in point. My husband works at a company, and I'm not going to name the company, and I'm not going to talk about the specifics, but there was some racial injustice, we'll put it that way, that occurred at the company he works at. And it caused a great deal of upheaval at his company, and
heads rolled, basically.
Heads rolled. And it was very sad. We thought the company was going to go under because of it. It was so bad. But it actually gave the company an opportunity to look inward at itself. And instead of taking it as a negative thing, they looked at, now, this is where we are now. How do we make this better? How do we do this and make it better? And they started talking to the employees, and they started bringing in experts. And, you know, they've changed everything at that company. Everything has changed. And we are so excited about the changes we see in this company, because it's going to be a better company than it ever was before. And none of that would have happened if it weren't for COVID and awareness about equality and things that happened in that wake. And, you know, if things had just gone on the way they were, the company would have just gone on the way it was. So everything that happens is an opportunity for change, and it's an opportunity to make it better. So let's look at what we have and how do we make this better? Yeah,
Adapt.
I agree. We have to adapt. And we may be wearing masks for a long time. I don't know. I have no idea. But we can learn to adapt to things.
And we may be Zooming with our friends more than seeing them in person for a long time.
Who knows? But, we adapted to that, and it helped us get through. And it
new
made
friendships. I've made new friends through Zoom.
Well, me too. And it has helped the technology improve, actually, because so many more people are using it.
Yeah,
the technology is getting better.
It created a vacuum. There was a need for something.
Yes.
Smart companies came in, used that to their advantage to create something that was more helpful. When things like this happen, it's opportunity for great change, rapid change. And that's what we've seen in our society with technology and social interaction is great rapid change. So you got to roll with the punches, adapt, bend, be flexible, and ingenuitive.
Yeah. Ingenuitive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ingenious. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know.
I coined that word.
There you go.
Y'all keep using it. Spread it around on the social media. Be sure to comment. No.
But yeah, I agree totally that is the case. And we do have opportunities going forward. We're 2 years out now. Lots of things have changed, and lots of things will continue to change. And that is the case with the world, always has been, always will be. It's not just COVID that changed us. World War II changed us. Vietnam changed us. World War I changed us. The electric light bulb changed us. Life changes. That is, in essence, we were talking about in a previous episode, Amber mentioned the Wheel of Fortune, and it made me think of the tarot card, the Wheel of Fortune, and that's the whole point, is that it's always changing. The fortune is always changing. It swings back and forth. It's always rolling, changing, and you just have to roll with it. Nothing will ever stay the same, and nothing will ever go back to what it was. If it did, we would still be living in the Stone Age. Pure and simple. Yeah. So, adapt and thrive. So next week, Kristen is going to lead us in a discussion about day planners.
Yay!
Well, we've kind of gone through a lot of different things of organizing, planning, goal setting, things like that, and day planners. Goals girl. This is another kind of part to that. And we're going to talk about using planners to up your game.
Enhance your life.
Yeah,
up your game.
Totally up your game. And I can't wait to talk about this because I've been using day planners since I was in college, and I'm old.
Since
so
day
I'm the
one.
Crone. So, I'm the crone.
You're the chrome?
I'm the chrome. This is an inside joke. Sorry.
Listen to it next time you hear Maiden, Mother, and Chrome.
Terrible. So anyway, come back next week. We want to thank Red Door Studios, Creative Audio Tech, for all the equipment and the assistance with our audio. And
thank you to our listeners.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you guys coming every week and checking out our podcast that comes out every Wednesday.
Don't forget to like us on social media and continue the conversation in our Facebook group.
And we would really like it if you would rate our podcast. I know for a fact that we have some regulars out there because you send me text messages and tell me what you thought.
Oh, you're calling them out.
Go ahead and put your comment on our blog or on our Facebook. We would really appreciate that. Or if you could give us a star rating on our podcast. Also on where you receive your podcast.
That helps us get out there where other people can see us too.
It would mean so much to us.
Yep. So have a great week. And we'll be back next week with Talk About Planners.
Bye.